Imagine working a 9 to 5 at a soul-sucking job that you absolutely hate, working 40 hours a week for someone else's business to make someone else's dream come true. When deep down, you know that you want to run your own business, live your dream lifestyle, work from anywhere you want, travel the world, do all these great things, but you just don't know where to get started. Fast forward to 1 year later, you're now running a thriving business all from your laptop from anywhere in the world with complete time and location independence. You don't have a boss. You don't report to anybody. That's the reality for my good friend Isaac. In this video, I'm going to be talking to him about how he went from zero with his cold email business to $20K a month in just a year, and how he was able to go from working a 9 to 5 job he hated to telling his boss he's quitting. For a quick background, Isaac is a student in Client Ascension. He runs a cold email marketing agency. Where you were at when you joined Client Ascension, where you're at now, and kind of the journey that you've taken since you joined the program.
I joined you guys about a year. It's been an awesome journey. At the time when I joined, I had one client. I was working a 9 to 5 sales job. Since then, I've grown my business. I've taken it full time. So I'm no longer in my 9 to 5. I am doing my agency full time. I've grown my book of business to 14 clients today. Last month, we hit just under 16K in cash collected and MRR of 22K. I'm looking to keep scaling it up.
Unreal, dude. A little tidbit in there that you were able to leave your 9 to 5 pretty recently. So when you first joined the program, were you had the side hustle of the lead gen agency, you were working your 9 to 5. What was that evolution like from, oh, I'll just do this on the side to I'm ready to actually quit my 9 to 5 job and just do this full time?
That was always my goal, putting myself in the position to work for myself. I had some experiences in the past where I'd worked with some friends and mentors who built and started their own businesses, which gave me the conviction internally to just know that I can do it as well. Just needed to put the pieces in place. And so I think for me, it was finding the confluence of skill set and actual results, combining that with being able to actually deliver and over again with new clients and making enough money to survive and thrive as well. Transitioning over time, slowly building the business, getting a client takes forever. I mean, you teach it really well, and Daniel talks about this all the time, but your first client, it takes a while to get results. And then from there, the time window decreases and shortens for both acquiring the next client and getting those results. And so that time window continues to just decrease until you're just kind of ripping it systematically, just like acquiring clients at will.
And would you say if you didn't join Client Ascension, do you think the timeline would have been as short from starting an agency?
Absolutely. 100%. I can give credit to the Client Ascension crew as a big reason why I've been, in my mind, relatively successful. So yeah.
So I want to go more into the cold email side of things. How many clients you signed from cold email for your own business since joining the program? And then also how many deals and how many calls you booked for your own clients on the cold outreach side for them? So for your business and for your clients.
All of my clients I've acquired through cold email. My initial clients I got through LinkedIn and in my network. Before I started Client Ascension, that was just me figuring it out and trying to put together some kind of a growth partner offer. Didn't really work out because I didn't really have the skill set. And so why I joined Client Ascension, because I knew I needed to bolster the skill set and be really good at one thing, right? That's what we talk about a lot, especially in cold email, is you can do a lot of things for a lot of people, but if you can simplify it for them, it's going to resonate a lot more and going to allow you to just add more value as an expert. It's really just like the get them on the phone method where, I wanted to just get really, really good at one specific discipline, and that happened to be cold email because I have a background in sales, also in finance, so I liked the analysis side of things. So I enjoyed understanding why things work, what demand drivers are, what moves markets. That's what really led me into being interested in lead generation. And then like the whole copywriting side of the thing is where I really wanted to bolster. And that's why you're just like a great coach there. Ultimately, you need to have a money-making skill and the ability to convince people to make decisions and take action with copy. That's such a high value thing to know, and why you can get people to actually convert in cold email. To answer the question, yeah, all of my clients I've acquired with cold email. All of my clients, I'm booking on average between 5 and 10 meetings a month. Some of my better clients, a couple of them closed deals, and those amounted to, call it around like 40K or so in MR.
So from cold email, how many clients would you say that you've signed for your own agency? And then on the flip side, how many clients have your clients signed from cold email, because you're obviously running a cold email lead gen agency?
For my business today, all of my clients I've signed with cold email. So that's 14 active clients. And in July, I know for a fact that 2 closed. So that total 40K in revenue generated. And then there's some additional deals that have closed that aren't confirmed numbers and things like that. So call it 5 or 6 deals.
I feel like that's a major limiting belief with people is like, I don't know how to scale my business or sign clients. And cold email is literally the magical solution to almost any business's problems with client acquisition. So let's talk about some of the nitty gritty stuff with cold email and client ascension. In the program, obviously we preach like copywriting, building a good list, deliverability. Like what would you say the biggest needle mover has been about, learning cold email from clients?
Honestly, not one thing specifically. I think it's kind of the portfolio skill set where you have to know how each piece fits together. On the copywriting front, there's specificity is really important, especially with offers. You need to know exactly who you're speaking to, and you need to talk to the transformation that they can expect to achieve. You need to substantiate it with a case study, and then generally there's a call to action. The technical side of cold email is something that you teach, it's taught throughout the program, and it is effective and it gets results. I think the thing that a lot of people don't necessarily think about is the long-term follow-up. That's really the long-term driver of success. There are oftentimes many people which will book in immediately and some won't even respond. Some people will have 1 or 2 back and forth, but it's those people that respond and say, I'm interested, or they have a question, but you still continue to follow up with them, and you continue to follow up with them basically in perpetuity by adding value each step of the way. That's really where you get that long tail growth that I think is really the secret sauce in the long run.
I feel like the biggest things with client ascension is there's like a lot going on at once. You could feel a little bit overwhelmed. We have all the Slack channels, the coaching calls, the community, the video course. Like what has been the formula for success for you?
My experience has evolved as my own business has evolved. So early when I started, I really focused on just doing the fundamentals. And I felt that the best way to do that was just dominating the video content. So when you hop on the calls, you're not asking a question that was addressed 50 times or in the Slack channels. So you can ask questions that are more value add to both yourself and the rest of the community. First step I would suggest is just making sure that you go through the videos and watch everything. Once you get kind of a nice little basis, transition more into just like showing up to calls. You're going to get a lot of long-term benefit where you get to build relationships with people in the community as well as the coaches who are experts in their field or their specific discipline, getting to know them, and they start to understand your business and learn your business so they can answer those questions specifically about, given the context of what you're going through. Those are some really important things. And I guess as far as a schedule, when I was working a 9 to 5, it was literally like I would wake up, I would do like 2 hours of client ascension, and then after work, I would do like a couple hours, and then throughout the middle of the day, I would fit it in. You just have to make it work. Once you're able to take it full time, now you have a little more control of the schedule.
You're on the West Coast, so when I have my 10 a.m. calls, you're always on there. I'm like, damn, 7 a.m. on a Monday.
Yeah, on Monday, it's kind of brutal, but gotta do what you gotta do.
I want to go into kind of how you stumbled upon cold email and digital marketing, right? Because the biggest push we're making is to help raw beginners go from 0 to 1 with cold email inside cold email mastery. So I'm curious, like, how did you stumble upon cold email? How did you actually get started? Because I feel like that's the biggest hurdle for people mentally is like, I don't know how to actually go from 0 to 1 and like start an actual business. But when you were at your 9 to 5, how did you discover cold email? And second, what was that first step that you took?
My first foray into digital entrepreneurship, I built a course, I put it out on Gumroad and made 2 sales. Didn't do as well as I wanted it to do, but I learned a lot from it. What that was basically helping people find a sales job at a VC funded startup. So I basically helping them build a list and how to actually reach out to these hiring managers to write a compelling message to ultimately help them get an interview. Cool experience, but obviously it didn't move the needle. I learned a lot from that, and I was like, all right, let's transition to something that's maybe a little more odd, because people who are looking for jobs, we don't have much money. So you probably want to sell a service to somebody who actually can afford something or something you could charge more money for. I transitioned more into more of like a growth partner thing where I'm trying to put together like a cold email outbound program. The way that I started learning this was through my sales experience, where you're doing both outbound cold emailing and then I was doing banging calls. It's kind of a multi-omni-channel approach, but you're only able to send 40 emails in a day. So there's still something missing where you can really get that volume and that scale. And so that's where we transition into client ascension. I knew that I wanted to learn this skill, but I didn't have the full toolbox and the skill set to get it really scaled. So you guys pretty much just like hand it to you on a silver platter.
So you had a client before client ascension. Was that like a LinkedIn outreach? Where did that very first client come from?
I had done some like, call it a hand raiser on LinkedIn, basically put out a post on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm trying to build this program. If you have a startup or a service business, let me know. And I ran some sales calls and I ended up closing somebody. It was pretty willy-nilly and I didn't really have any kind of system to it. We got it done. And that was really the first validation of, all right, you can do this. Now let's really turn it up. I transitioned away from the done with you because I didn't have the skills to more of a done for you. And that's where we're at now.
One of the biggest things on our end is like people want to join client ascension, but they're always like, oh, once I get my next client, I'll join. Once I get to 5 clients or X 5K MRR, I'll join. Meanwhile, you had 1 client and you jumped in the program, kind of took a leap of faith. So what was the thought process behind that? Instead of like, I'll join once I get 5 clients, you just weren't all in right then?
To me, it was just the idea that I knew I wanted some support. I saw some coaches that had been brought in the fold because I was on LinkedIn. So I saw Jeremy Schaller. I saw he became a coach. I was like, oh, like I've been following him for a while. Like he's legit. There's the social proof behind it. And then I saw there was just scrolls of case studies of people doing some pretty cool stuff. And I had some good interactions with Tyler, the closer. You got to come to the realization that you need to put some cash out in order to get a big return. You need to take some risk. And so I figured that it was a risk worth taking because the long-term benefits are going to greatly outweigh initial investment.
100%. From an objective perspective, if I was starting from zero and I wanted to grow like an agency, investing in yourself, I feel like is always the hardest part. It's like, oh, you could blow a couple $100 at a bar or at the mall or like on a trip. It's easy. Yeah. When it comes time to like, hey, for a trainer, invest in a program. It's a lot harder of an investment for some reason.
And before this, I actually invested in another program. It didn't get me the best results ever, but it got me started. And I think it's just getting to that realization that not everything's going to be perfect. And if you just realize that you have a composite skill set, it's not just one thing. So if you can start to learn something from this experience and then something from that experience, like over time it builds up and you become a one-of-a-kind offer in your own world.
100%, man. So long-term, do you see Client Ascension kind of fitting into part of your skill stack, if you will, where it's a resource for you to rely on for opportunities, learn more about new stuff, develop your skill sets, sales and operations and stuff like that? Because I know you've been in for 11 months at this point. Do you think the lemon's been squeezed all the way, or do you think there's still things that you can benefit from?
No, man, I think there's definitely things you can benefit from because if you're growing over this period of time, then nobody else is in a vacuum. Everybody else is also growing and learning too. So especially for somebody in my shoes who's probably your ideal fit, a lead gen, you guys are all specialists in that space. So I think for me, it's like all of the coaching just fits the needs. You guys are all available in the DMs and I use the DMs quite a bit earlier on, but now what I'm doing more so is if you have questions, you can just join the calls and get them answered or just put them in the public and somebody else and you'll just crowdsource the answer and then you start to develop the relationships that way as well. The long term of anything is who you know and the relationships. And I think for me, like it's established up to this point, I've gained a lot monetarily from the skills that I've grown, but I think over time as everybody else, all these other ships rise, the rising tide rises all ships, right? Everybody in Client Ascension is in the tide and the Client Ascension tide is rising. And so we're all ships rising equally well.
Yeah, you join to learn things, but the community can benefit you. Partnership wise, knowledge wise, people have teamed up to build businesses together. What's one moment that you can take away from the last 11 months that was like a funny moment, a cool moment, a connection you made with, one memorable thing that stuck out?
One specific thing. I was doing these like weekly dark podcast calls with Matt Lucero and Cameron Tarbell, and that was always really fun. All at different kind of stages, and we got to share like very regularly. It was a fun kind of early experience where I got to learn about these guys and get to share with them, and they're both killing it. So that was a cool thing. Wouldn't have experienced without the program for sure.
100%, man. Well, appreciate you jumping on. Where can the audience find you, contact you, work with you on cold email?
You can find me at levergrowth.io. We are also on LinkedIn. I have a Twitter. I'm Isaac, ISAAC_Wood1. I'm also on YouTube, Isaac_Wood. Connect with me. I'm always open. So
yeah, guys, if you join Client Ascension, you can connect with Isaac in real life at our event in October. So appreciate you jumping on, man. This was killer.
Just keep rising.
100%. Rising tide lifts all boats. That's the message for the interview. Appreciate you jumping on. Thanks, man.